Welcome to the Music for Transformation interview series, where I get to interview amazing people who use music to enhance their own lives and that of other people as well. So first of all, just hit that subscribe button now and enjoy the interview. I am delighted to have the amazing, incredibly talented Leigh Goslin speaking with me today. And he played 5 songs on the album. He was the pianist that played 5 songs on the album. And going to ask him some questions and find out a little bit about, what motivates him in regards to music. So, Leigh, thank you for joining me.
Hi there. Thanks for having me.
Good stuff. So I tell you what, I'm going to hit you with a question to begin with, because I know that you do have a real passion for music, in particular playing music yourself, playing piano yourself. So what does music mean to you?
It's a good opener, that. I think the beauty of it is just about anything, depending on what it is you're listening to. There is something for any occasion, any way you feel, or any way you want to progress with maybe your day or your evening, or what you're doing in the moment. So I listen, to just about anything, depending on what sort of mood I may or may not be in, or what sort of mood I want to be in. So it's a great way for people to express themselves, or for you to interpret and find something within that for yourself.
That's lovely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's a great point there, isn't it? Because, and that was deliberately an open question, because music can mean so many different things to different people, and it can be used in so many different ways. And, I love the fact you said about expressing yourself, because that's the big thing for me about music. I love to listen to other people's music, of course, but I also use music as a way of expressing myself. So how did you sort of first get into playing piano?
That's a fun story. It's a very short story. I shortly after my 21st birthday, I just woke up one morning and decided that I wanted to learn how to play the piano, which it was half joke, half serious. I want to learn how to do this. And then, I went out and bought a keyboard for like £30 off of a website. I had no idea what I was doing. And it sort of just snowballed from there, to be honest. So it literally was just a wake up one morning. I'd always thought about it, and I'd always been like, I quite enjoy the sound of that. Didn't really jump out at me. And then one day I was just like, that is what I'm going to be doing.
And a lot of people would have had similar ideas as that, and they might have gone and bought the piano or the keyboard, or got it for Christmas or something like that, and they would have played a little while on it, and then that would have been it. But you obviously stuck to it. So what did you find that kept you pursuing it and enjoying it?
I think a mixture of things, really. Obviously, in playing it and learning as you go along, you see progression. So you get a sort of self-gratification from making an achievement at any given stage of where you're playing. And obviously, the higher you aim, the more chance you ever hitting something high, and you feel good about it, so you carry on. There's also the aspect of, I've always liked to pick things apart, and always been a little bit curious about things I don't understand. And I looked at sheet music one day. I was like, I have no idea what that is trying to tell me. It's essentially hieroglyphics when you first look at it. Doesn't matter how simple it is. And it was a want to understand that sort of language and the technicalities behind it. And watching other people play is quite inspiring. To watch the velocity of which their fingers move is just insane when you have no idea how that's happening. So you're like, well, if they can do it, why can't I? And it turns out you can. So
And
simple.
that's a great mindset to have, and obviously that's what the Empowerment Songs albums are about, really, isn't it?
Mm.
Going out there, doing it, changing those limiting beliefs that we all put on ourselves that stop us from actually taking action and doing things we want to do. So you've obviously been able to control those and actually say, well, no, there's no reason why I can't go out there and do it, and you've given yourself permission to do that. And I love the thing that you actually said about you yourself. You had an awareness of yourself, the fact that you were curious and, well, how does that work? And that sort of led you on to the pathway in a way into music. And I really like that, because again, I used the expression or the phrase self-expression earlier on. And that was really something that I wanted to do through music as a songwriter. I didn't just want to play other people's songs, because for me, although yes, I can express myself to a certain degree there, I wanted to write the songs, because writing the lyrics and creating the tunes, that really is me expressing myself, and I can then talk about my pains, I can talk about my pleasures, anything like that within the words of the song and within the melody and the rhythm, etc. So it's really interesting how we as a person can really find different elements of music that kind of satisfy our needs as a person. For you, obviously learning how to read music satisfied that need that you have to be curious and work at things. So that's absolutely amazing. Good. And you obviously decided, and I'm guessing this is a case for a lot of people who play piano, you decided not just to learn it, but actually sort of go through the proper grading system, didn't you? And you're doing pretty well with that. Am I correct?
Yes. Again, another complete accident. It was one of the things where I had a friend who was going through that process, and they helped me out in the beginning. And we got a book which was like the grade 1 syllabus for ABRSM, which is like the exam board, and we was like, oh, we'll work on this will be fine. And the next thing you know, I've learned how to play the pieces in the syllabus. And then one day I had about, I don't know, 6 months later, I had a teacher, the teacher's name's Sue, amazing teacher, but she that was grade 2. Grade 1 I did it myself. I can't remember how that happened.
You've done too many grades.
Yeah, well, yeah, there was it was a really odd one. I think it was just a case of, well, I've got to that point, I may as well give the exam a try. And then the second one was well, you might as well do this one now. And then off it went. And then I ended up doing all of them. So it was a hell of a journey. I mean, and again, complete accident. But when I started, I didn't even know there was exams. Like, I didn't think there would be examinations for such things, but there's a whole world underneath that. And I think that's another thing, is that once you dive down that rabbit hole, there's all kinds of weird and wonderful things you can do, from playing on your own to playing with other people, or if you one day get to that point, playing in an orchestra, or there's people online who do all sorts of weird things with pianos. I was watching a few the other day where he wasn't even using the keys to play the thing. It's quite a vast, versatile instrument, much like most of them are. There's a lot of different things you can do, and it's again that expanse that you can just go into. And that was just the direction. When I got to the expanse, that's where I went. They just seemed to work for me, I think. Of course, there's hundreds of ways you can go, thousands, without really having to ever take an exam. It's a structured approach, and that keeps things in a learning environment. I think structured approach is probably the best way to go, but not always, not for everyone. It worked for me. It works for a lot of people, but some people just want to sit down, learn, watch a video on YouTube, learn that way, and then enjoy themselves, and that's completely valid.
Yeah, and it is quite applicable nowadays, isn't it? You know, where people can do that. A few years ago, we didn't have the technology, we didn't have the YouTube and all the videos on there to actually enable us to do it that way. But it is possible. But of course, if you're looking for that real technical proficiency, probably the correct guidance and, you know, maybe going through those gradings can be really good. There's so much I'd like to discuss there. I mean, one, if I just compare to myself, not that this is about me, but again, for anyone watching, it just sort of shows you the differences in directions and backgrounds that you can have. See, I can't read music. I can read guitar tablature, which is a bit similar in a way, but quite different. I don't read musical notes, and the only lessons I've had in terms of guitar lessons, I mainly play guitar, were from my dad, who he never had lessons. He was self-taught. You know, he was in a band in the 1960s. He sort of taught me. Some of the chords I play is actually incorrect fingering. Fingers to what the recommendations are, but I've just kind of gone with it. And other things like drums, I can play to a basic standard. I just learned it. That was just through watching gigs, basically, you know, watching videos or DVDs of bands on gigs. So, you know, I want everyone to sort of know that if you're kind of thinking, well, I want to learn a musical instrument, but, you know, I haven't got the money or something like that, or don't know anyone, you know, that isn't an excuse. Certainly not nowadays, because,
No.
if got access, if you watch this now, chances are you've got access to YouTube. You can learn from that. And, you know, again, that was a big thing to do with the album, you know, the fact of just going out there and making it happen. When I started the album, I didn't know you, Leigh. You know, when I first started the album, if I'd sort of been waiting for Leigh to come along, maybe he wouldn't have come along. So it's a case of taking action in it. And you sort of done that, you know, and the interesting thing is that you sort of said this was by accident. Me, myself, through my personal development, I now sort of believe that it isn't so much accidents, it's sort of synchronicities, and you then still decided to move forward because of that, you know. So it seems like an accident that you've met someone or something like that, but maybe it's just a synchronicity, and, you know, the universe is sort of saying, well, here's this person, potentially they can help you, you can help them, but you've got to take the action forward, and you obviously did that, which was great, with that understanding of yourself, which is amazing. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, there's a whole wealth of resources online that allow people to do things in other ways now, and obviously it's 2020, not everyone learns the same way. You're quite right. There is no excuse. If you want to do it, then just go out there and do it. Pick something up and go for it. 100%.
Absolutely brilliant. So when I obviously found out about you, and I knew your dad through networking, and you know, I was sort of at network meetings saying, oh, I really need a pianist, and there's another person who did some piano on the album, but, you know, I really need this pianist, and he suggested yourself. What was it again that, you know, made you say yes? Was it just the fact that you just enjoy playing music and just wanted to, you know, have that new challenge? What was it that sort of made you say yes to be part of the album?
Again, there's two things there. You're quite right. I do obviously enjoy playing. I enjoy all aspects of it, really. The main draw for me, in the very early stages, before I knew anything about what the album was about or what style of music it was, I was just like, I have not done that before. I've been playing for X amount of time. Maybe I should try that. Maybe I should give that a go and see how that works. So, you know, collaborate with other people on it, and you know, work outside of solo works, but not in a live sense, so to speak, because there's a lot of pressure if you're on a stage with a load of people, they're counting on you to get it right. But there, it's like, you're just gonna play this, and then we're gonna make something out of it afterwards. It's okay, sound. That was my expectation going in. Obviously, slightly off, but it was a new experience, and it, you know, there was an opportunity there to not be so rigid, not go for perfection in what's in front of you. It's not down to your interpretation of individual notes, for example, and on a block on a piece of paper. It was, this is the song, here's some chords, and he was like, all right, just do something. And, you know, we ended up with various variations of the same thing, and that was a big change of pace, a big change of the usual way I would go around playing a piece of music, for example. So originally it was the curiosity of that, I should imagine.
Thank you. And it was interesting because I think working with all the different contributors, we had to work out a way that was effective. You know, when we were communicating, when I was communicating with all the, you know, different musicians and singers, we had to work out a way of communicating. And if people were recording elsewhere, you were recording using your facilities at your home. And it was a case of how do we transfer stuff to each other and communicate effectively. And what we sort of found with yourself, as you sort of alluded to, you know, I pretty much gave you a song which some of the songs were more finished, some of the songs were slightly less finished, and often they had very basic piano on there that I had sort of done, and I'm not a pianist myself. So often the instruction was, well, there's the sort of piano, these are the chords, there's the piano, can you kind of do that but make it sound better? You know, that was often the instructions.
Yeah, it was,
which is you know, which gives you a challenge in one way, but like you say, gives you a bit of freedom and allows you to interpret it and express it. And what you actually did, Leigh, again, for the, you know, the listeners and the watchers out here, what Leigh actually did was create basically for each part of a song, he created several different versions, if you like, you know, and some of them I was like, I'm sort of listening to this and I'm thinking, wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing. I really like that. But, you know, maybe that doesn't quite go with the feel that I want. So, you know, maybe watch out for any future versions, because I'd still love to sort of release some alternative versions of piano, etc. But yeah, did you sort of really enjoy that having that freedom just to literally sort of play? I mean, how do you I suppose this is a different question. How do you go about it then, Leigh? So you heard this song which you'd never heard before. Is it just a case of, were you sort of very much in your head, like thinking, oh, I've got to play those chords? Or was it much more of a sort of a feel for the music and just kind of go with the flow and see where it takes you? What was the process?
The process usually started here on the phone. So, you know, we'd talk about it. You'd send voice recordings through, or, you know, a blurb of what, you know, roughly you was after. And you start off with becoming comfortable with it. So I'd listen to, you know, the audio that you sent me of what we had, like the pre-finished versions. Try and get a feel for it, not worry so much about, you know, the words, but listen to where, you know, it becomes it builds up, it, you know, becomes to a crescendo, it slows down again, and then, you know, you get breakdowns and, you know, the general structure of it. And then once I sat down, it started off as, all right, so converted what you sent me to, you know, sheet music, looked at it and went, okay, these are the chords, cool. And then basically what was on there was the first variation. And then as I, you know, became more comfortable with it, I go back to the beginning, start again, you know, layers upon layers, and then try different ideas. And then if it came out okay, send it to you. And then that's how you ended up with, you know, 7 or 8 variations of each section of each song. And it took a while, but, you know, it's when you come to the end of it, I'm like, I don't know, I'm excited because I don't know which one you're going to choose, and I feel sorry for you because I'm like, well, I don't know what one he's going to pick. I don't know which one I would pick, but I'm sure it will add up. And if you try and mix it in with, you know, the rest of the instruments on the track, I'm like, because I don't know what's in the finished piece. So to give that variation means I've covered all the bases, but at the same time, it gives me a chance to, you know, maybe not be so rigid and pick out, you know, certain areas that I'd like to embellish, or certain areas that I'd like to the reverse of embellish. There's a word for that. It eludes me now, but there is a word for that. Anti-embellish, make it less intricate. I don't know. And then obviously you'd come back with feedback, and I'd be like, okay, we can change that bit. Then I have to remember which one that was, which is quite entertaining. But yeah, that was essentially the process, is start, and then it's brick by brick really, until you come up with something that's so outlandish it probably never make it in there, but well done for getting it.
Absolutely. And you know, I loved the fact that you created all those different versions. It was great, but I cursed it at the same time because it did take me a long time to sort of go through them as well. So I'm still really pleased that, you know, you did it like that, and it really showed your versatility and your understanding, and, you know, I really respected that and honored it. But yeah, you know, obviously, as you can imagine, with the album, 31 songs, dealt with just shy of, I think, 25 contributors from around the world. It takes a lot of time to really go through everything, but, you know, I'm glad that we did, because that, you know, that piano was really important, that we got some of those songs with the proper piano, with a proper piano player. I think that was really important to me, to do that. So I'm really glad that you did that. That was amazing. So let's talk a little bit about now the well, I'll tell you what, let's talk about the songs. So you worked on Miracle, you worked on This Day, you worked on The One, Unstoppable, and then right at the end, because I had a contributor that cancelled on me, and I had to make a decision, I had to swap a song, and I brought in the instrumental Way of the Warrior.
Yes.
You know, so some of those are quite similar songs, and maybe some of them are different. Did you have certain moments or certain songs that sort of stood out for you? Do you remember that, or not really?
Yeah, there are some parts that stand out. The problem is I'm not good with names, so I know what song I'm talking about, but there's one, I'll see if I can find it on my phone in a minute, but it has, just before it reaches its crescendo, there's like a bridge, and it's going down chromatically, and it gets louder as you go down chromatically.
I think it was The One. I think it was The One. And this is something. So again, for any of you people watching at the minute or listening at the minute, if Leigh starts speaking too technically in terms of musical terms, that is where I might get lost, because again, I haven't got that background. So I've got the basics, you know, I can get by. But you know, this is again one of the sort of differences there, that I can still write the songs and I do it, but I don't necessarily know all the terms. But yeah, I would say from that description, probably talking about This Day, which did have that lovely sort of bridge section, mid-late section, which I think probably is what you're talking about.
Probably, yeah. But that was one that came out, and as soon as I worked out that's what it was doing, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna have some fun with that now. And then I did. I spent so much time on just that section, just because I enjoyed that particular bit. I don't know why. I just sat there and I was like, well, that's quite fun. Because I had I think the voice for that one as well, so the person was singing, and then like it just became more. Every time I did it, I was like, no, we can be more flamboyant here. It's fine. I just ran away with it. So that was one memorable moment. And it usually is sections like that, building up to a big crescendo, like, or a big explode of all the noises, when it all comes together, and you get some also key changes where it changes how it sounds, becomes happier. It's some parts are very what was the phrase we used before, Disney-esque, very uplifting, very, you know, oh, we made it, like to the top of the mountain or whatever. And then we had a massive change of pace in that last one, The Warrior, where it was much more, what's the word, dramatic, a lot more, you know, cinematic, and more, there's a word. I'm not good with words today. It's because it's not 9:30. But yeah,
I mean, epic is a bit of a word for me as well with
Yeah.
that sort of song. I sort of see it as a bit of an epic song.
Mm.
You know, for me, it was always a song that I could hear being featured in a film, in a movie. You know, some kind of like big battle scene or something like that.
100%, yeah. And it's that lack of words that allows you to not be so rigid with the story you're trying to tell there. Because I didn't know what story he was trying to tell, but I had like a rough idea of the story I got from it. We don't know what that is. It's called The Warrior. That's, you know, you're good. You're good to go. Like, do what you will with it. And that was, like the first four, it was fun to work on. And then I think the contrast between the two made the last one like a change of pace, like a breath of fresh air. Like, oh, right, this is a little bit different. Let's try this. And I think those were the highlights, I think. And obviously the first time when we was trying to find our feet on how to work together and stumbling over myself basically. But yeah, I think those were the main highlights for me, in terms of working on it.
Brilliant. No, that's great. And a couple of things I just want to impress upon there. One thing in particular, I think, again, I like to relate some of this to personal development, because that's kind of what a lot of the audience are interested in. And this was what the album was. It was a mix of music coupled with empowerment, personal development, and educating people really through the lyrics in a way. And something you said there about how you really enjoyed those certain sections, and and that's the thing. If you've got a real passion, something that sets your heart on fire, then time just goes. You'll just go through hours and hours consumed in this thing, and you'll still have high amounts of energy and high motivation, and you absolutely love it. And that's when that you've found one of your passions, and I'm sure you can relate to that, Leigh.
Oh yeah. Hours fly by, to the point I can't remember which one we was working on, but I started at like 8 o'clock in the afternoon, wrapping my head around it, getting it going, and then I looked at my phone and it was 2 o'clock in the morning, but it didn't feel like it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm still ready to go, and I'm like, I should go to bed. I have work tomorrow. So it is really easy if you're that focused on it, and you're that invested in it as well. It's getting that investment out. I think that's something that I can struggle with sometimes, is becoming invested in learning something new. But again, once you've spent a little bit of time on it, you then made your investment, and you're more likely to carry on. But I wouldn't recommend the 2 o'clock in the morning thing. That is unwise. You should sleep.
Absolutely. But it's a great example. And, for anyone who hasn't found a passion in their life, it is a case of going out and finding it, because like I say, it's a great indicator. And it's the same for me. I can spend all day in my home studio creating music, and some elements of it are more interesting than others. But, certainly if I'm really working on something that's really creative, where I'm really, working out the tunes and the different arrangements and, the different instruments, then, time just goes. And I often get quite frustrated when I have to leave, because dinner's ready, or I've got to attend to the kids or something like that. It is quite annoying. So
I've been there. Yeah, that is. Yeah, it is very much a thing. Or I don't have the luxury of having dinner ready, but then you realize you have to have dinner, and you have to go away and do that, and you're like, no, I've got to. So you end up eating real fast and getting back to it, and it's it's that drive to want to come back that is it's not an easy thing to recreate. It's something that just sort of happens after a while. It's quite a difficult one to explain, that one. I wouldn't be able to say how that happens, but it'll develop itself. I didn't ever envisage myself sitting up until 2 o'clock in the morning playing the piano 10 years ago, but I do it.
Yeah, that's it. It's within you, obviously, isn't it? It's the feelings you get. And I remember you saying before that piano, again, I mean, maybe you can describe it a little bit more, but what does piano give to you? Because I think, am I right in thinking it sort of, it gives you that self-expression. It kind of gives you a bit of peace as well, does it? Inner peace and things like that. What does just sitting there for hours playing piano, whether it's my songs or other songs, what does it do for you? What are the sort of the benefits for you?
Oh, it can be anything from, again, like I mentioned earlier, like self-gratification of achieving something, especially something like particularly technically difficult. It could be nostalgia if it's something, you're playing something that you've heard years ago, used to listen to when you was like a TV theme tune that you watched when you was a kid, just having a laugh with it. It can be anything from that, and it's it's the ability to do any of those things. well, not any of those things, but you know, the things that you're capable of at the time. It can be either visceral or, you know, like a gut feel, like I'm happy with this, I want to play this, I remember that from X amount of time ago, or I want to do this, and it's very cerebral, and it's because this bit's very intricate, and when I do it, I feel like I achieve something. Every time I do it, it puts a smile on my face. And you can watch any musician, you know, sometimes if they're not singing, obviously, you'll see them reach particular parts in particular pieces of music and they have a little smile on their face, and I don't blame them, because the amount of time, I know how much time they probably put into A, learning how to do it, and B, getting that little bit just right. I was watching one the other day, actually, where you could see them almost giggling, like literally almost giggling. I can't remember which one it was, but it's you know, little things like that, that keep you going and make you want to progress, basically, because you know, it's like if you finish anything in life, you finish building your house, you finally get to buy that new car you wanted, whatever it is it might be. When you get it, you like that the whole time, and it's that feeling, just maybe not as expressive as what just came out on my face just then, but yeah, there's a lot of things that make me want to carry on, or branch out, from technical to how I'm feeling that particular day.
That's brilliant. Yeah, and you know, I like that, because again, you've sort of mentioned about different areas of the brain, and you've got the left brain, the logical side of things, you've got the right brain, the creative side, and music is a whole brain thing. So yeah, absolutely good. Very quickly, I just want to touch on the sort of theme or the ethos of the album. So empowerment songs. So the idea, when I came up with this idea, it was an idea of creating music that would motivate people, inspire people, empower them, make them feel good, give them some belief, etc. How important do you think that is for people?
For a lot of people, probably very important, to have that, you know, what's the word I'm looking like, backing from someone, or you know, the push, the drive, someone to drive them, to inspire, if you will. And you can either do that with this album by listening to the words, or if you're like me, sometimes you ignore the words and you can just listen to the sound world it puts you in. And you know, it's, as I mentioned earlier, it's quite uplifting. It's quite Disney-esque. Like, you know, there's always a happy note to it usually. There are places where, you know, it takes you a little bit lower down and it pushes you back up again. And you know, the lyrics are very much the same, from the ones that I tend not to pay a lot of attention to lyrics these days, but the ones I heard, I was like, yeah, I can see why people would be inspired by this and become, as you say, empowered. It depends how you listen to it, really, depending on who you are. And obviously you get people that don't listen to music that much at all. Maybe they'll benefit from listening to it anyway. But yeah, I think those two things, if you listen one of those two ways, that would be, you'd get that from it easily.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because some people like the lyrics more, you know, not just with my music, but with any music, you know, they focus more on the lyrics. They like the poetry of it. Other people, it's more about the music. And I will say, although I've written 30 out of the 31 songs, all with that personal development theme, obviously, you know, different concepts within personal development, but you know, the lyrics are obviously important. I'm much more about the music to begin with, because for me, if you've got a great set of lyrics but the actual melody is absolutely awful, then you've got a nice poem. You haven't got a song necessarily, you know. Yeah. So for me, it's got to be about the music. But then, of course, if you've got some amazing lyrics on top, well, that's you know, that's really the complete thing, isn't it? But yeah, you're absolutely right. And I think people can listen to the music and not really take in the lyrics, but it might still be going on in your head, because the reverse is very much true as well. You know, when we get negativity, when we get sucked into what's going on in the news, etc., even if we're not consciously listening to it, it's actually going into our subconscious. And that's the beauty of the lyrics and music itself goes into our subconscious. That is why a week later, after we've heard a song, we're still singing it. It's in there. It's got stuck in our head, so we know that music goes in there, and the words will go in there as well. But you're absolutely right. There's different ways we can listen to it, and some people are more about the melody, other people are more about the words, and of course some people aren't so much into music. They're more visual learners or something like that, of course.
Yeah,
so,
I think, well, the good news there is, like sometimes you'll listen to an album and certain ones will jump out at you. There's such a wide variety here. I mean, it's a triple album, so there's always a chance that a couple of them are going to be that one for you if you just to listen to the whole lot. So yeah, it's as we said, it depends on the person and what they're after, but I think there's something in there for everyone, I think.
Yeah, and that was one of the ideas. I didn't want to have constraints in terms of having to write in a certain way or certain styles. I just wanted to kind of free flow. There's multiple genres there, multiple styles, and that is what I wanted for everyone, because again, in every day, to be honest, but certainly in every week and in every month, in every year, we have different emotions, we have different situations, and I'm sure you, Leigh, are the same as me and lots of other people, will listen to certain types of music depending upon our mood and how we're feeling, etc. And that is what I wanted, something for everyone and something sort of for every mood. So I'm glad you picked up on that. So what are your, as we sort of bring this to a close now, what are your goals for the future going forward, in particular with your music, with your piano? Do you have certain goals, certain things you want to achieve?
Sorry, I lost you for a few seconds there, but I think I got the gist.
Did you?
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I was saying,
it's me. Yeah.
Do you have certain goals over the next, year, couple of years that you have to do with your music, your piano?
Yeah, I mean, more of some of the things I've ventured into in the last year. So we've done this. Obviously, I finished grade 8, not last year, but the end of the year. I don't even remember when. But we're looking to move on to like a diploma. I mean, like the teacher, they're sort of working on that now. Maybe share a little bit more. I don't share a lot at all. I'm really bad with that, really. I keep saying I'm going to do it. I've got like tripods and cameras, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to record it, and then I'm just like, no, I want to practice some more. I don't want to do that. So like that, I really want to, get into over the next 6 to 12 months, maybe. And I don't know how long it will take to get ready for the diploma. I've never done it, so maybe a year, maybe longer. But yeah, I mean, depends where the road takes. Like when we started this, I didn't know that I was going to be doing this a couple of years ago, but there it is. So I'll look into any opportunity that sort of comes up, and if it feels right or it's something that I want to do, then I'm going to go that way as well. But just keep building on what's there so far. And I also now have a violin which hates me, so I'm going to try and make that a friend for the next year as well. I've had it about a year now. And I was going really well, and then COVID hit, and then I stopped everything. So I'll probably pick that back up as well. I wouldn't want to listen to me playing that though. That'd be tragic. But we'll see how it works out.
Well, we'll give you a bit of time, and then maybe on a future album we can have you featured as the violinist as well as the pianist. So yeah, that would be absolutely incredible. Because again, I've got a lot of strings on the album, but they're all synthetic, they're all computer based. So it'd be lovely to and learn a few more instruments, and then we can get a whole orchestra out of you as well. That'd be amazing.
I'll get right on it, mate. Yeah, no problem.
Brilliant. Well, it's been amazing to speak to you. I know you don't sort of have like a specific website or anything like that, do you? But if you do want to hear more of Leigh's music, well, why don't you comment? So if you're watching this on Facebook or listening on a podcast, try and comment, and we'll try and make sure that he gets his music out there. Gets those cameras going so that everyone can hear some more. But yeah, if you've got any more questions for Leigh, you can always fire them at me, and I'll pass them on, and I'm sure that he'll be happy to answer them. Any last minute words of wisdom or anything like that? I mean, let's just a piece of advice for someone who's maybe listening to this, maybe a child who's thinking, maybe I could play piano. What would a word of wisdom for them be, Leigh?
Definitely do it. It's the best. I think it's the best way I can do it. If you're going to give it a go, don't be, put out or distracted by people telling you that, oh, it takes a lot of practice, and you got to do it when you're a kid. That's also another thing. That's not a thing. So if you want to give it a go, it's worst case scenario, you buy yourself a little keyboard for 30 quid and you decide you don't like it, or you can move on and get more expensive kit, but there is nothing stopping you. So if you want to do it, do it.
Brilliant. Great advice. Absolutely true. Leigh, it's been a pleasure. Thank you ever so much for being a contributor, a very valued contributor on the album. And thank you for taking time out of your day and out of your piano playing to be part of this. So thank you.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for watching. 3 quick things to do now. 1, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. 2, go to the inneranthem.com website and access your free video series, the 3-minute music life hack, so you can find out how to use music to enhance your life. And thirdly, get your own copy of the Empowerment Songs albums at the inneranthem.com website.